Hello and welcome to episode 42 of The Whole Story. I, weirdly, am in the position of hosting this one, and you, lucky people, get to hear someone else doing the talking for once. I'm delighted to be welcomed by Street Manager Star Developer. It's Owen McCoy, ladies and gentlemen. Owen, say a big hello.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
I definitely didn't twist his arm and make him do this, guys. So the topic today is non-compliance management. And we're kind of at the exciting point now in Street Manager where we're bringing in brand new stuff into the service, not just developing off the back of things that existed in the previous world. So, non-compliance management is basically the idea that you are managing the defect itself, not the inspection. So, people talk about disputing an inspection. That's not really what you're doing, is it? The inspection happened yesterday, and at that moment, the inspector adjudged it to be a failure. That's happened. Really, you're saying this defect, this non-compliance, isn't a valid one, or you're having a joint site meeting to discuss the extent of it, or you're managing that by raising remedial works, whatever you're doing. So think of non-compliance management as moving away from disputing the inspection. Don't think of it like that anymore. Think of it as I am disputing this defect. And the other beautiful thing about non-compliance management is that fairly quickly we're going to end up with everyone having a list of all the non-compliances either in their area or within their organization. So I've been going around the country doing these road shows and saying to people, how many defects have you got in your council area today or your organization today? Sometimes people don't really know. Sometimes they might have jerry-rigged some report up in a system to try and work that out for them and give them an idea. But this should give us proper data on how many non-compliances there are. And think about a world where I can pop into Street Manager, open up my list of non-compliances, and see that I have 78, 12, whatever it might be, and I can see what the oldest one is, and I can see what the statuses of them are. So hopefully that's the world we're moving towards. Probably enough setup from me. I'm going to pass over now to Owen. Owen, I hope that made sense. And what have you been up to?
Yep, all good. So while you were chatting away there, I've just gone through and entered the details for a field inspection. So I put in some non-compliant details. And once I submit this inspection, which I'll do now, this will automatically create a non-compliance in the background against the work record. So now that I've logged this, I can go and view this works record. And if I scroll down a little bit, we'll see a new non-compliance has been issued. So we can click into that and see all the details about this non-compliance that's just been raised. We can see the details of the latest inspection. In this case, this is the inspection that we've just raised that's created it. And some other details, the inspections, any other ones that are linked, any permit applications that are linked to non-compliance, and the promoter and HA responses.
So
So
you
does
you you just created that failed inspection, and then the system automatically created this non-compliance. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then you happen to do a sorry, you did a routine inspection or whatever it was. If you'd done a non-compliance follow-up or a follow-up completion on an existing defect that was already in the system today, would that have created a non-compliance as well if one didn't already exist?
Correct. So if you create a field inspection with the reinstatement or the non-compliance follow-up type, it will automatically create a non-compliance if there isn't one already against the work. If there is one, it'll ask you if you want to link it to that existing non-compliance.
Well, don't let me delay you any further, Owen. Feel free to show us what the next stage is, whether it's the highway authority suggesting the joint site meeting or whatever it might be.
That is exactly what we'll go to. So I'm logged in as the HA officer. So we have a number of options here. Straight away, I could withdraw the non-compliance, but we're going to suggest a joint site meeting, and we'll enter suggested date and time for ourselves and the promoter to meet at the site. And once I submit this, it'll be logged on the non-compliance record that City of Westminster has requested the joint site meeting, the date and time that it's suggested, and that it's awaiting confirmation. And it'll also display down here under the Highway Authority response. So HAs will also be able to suggest the new date and time at any point during this process. But at this stage, I'm going to log out and log back in as a promoter. So I'm logged back in as a planner now, back on the same non-compliance reference, and I have a number of options as a promoter. I can suggest a different date and time for the joint site meeting. I could say that we're okay with the date and time that the HA has supplied and will attend at that date and time. We could say that a joint site meeting isn't needed, or at any stage we can go ahead and say that the works are completed and the site is ready for re-inspection. So at this stage, I think I'll say we'll suggest a new joint site meeting date. So we could say that date and time doesn't suit us, so we'll do the next day, 12 o'clock. So I've suggested a new joint site meeting time for the next day at 12 o'clock. And I still have the option as the promoter to suggest a different time, or I can say that I agree with the original suggested HA time. But we're going to log back out and back in as a HA, and we'll accept the promoter's response. So log back in as a HA, back on the non-compliance. You can see joint site meeting details. It still says City of Westminster, our original suggestion for the 4th at 12 o'clock, and still awaiting confirmation. I've got the new suggestion back from the promoter of the following day at the same time. So I'm going to accept the promoter suggested date and time. And once I do that, it'll update the details at the top here with the new date and time and saying that it's been agreed. So it's the 5th at 12. If that date and time doesn't suit, they can still go back and suggest another joint site meeting time. And that process can go back and forth as it just has. So at this stage, the joint site meeting can go and happen. Then the promoter may need to raise some remedial works to address the non-compliance. So I'll log out as and log back in as a planner. So as the planner on the inspection, once the joint site meeting happens and we agree that there is a defect, we can come into the inspection and respond to it and say that we accept it. And then at that stage, we'll go out and do our remedial works on the site. So log back in as a planner, back on the works record for our non-compliance, and going to go ahead and apply for a new phase of works. And you'll see whenever I go to apply for this permit, it'll give us a new screen to link a permit to the non-compliance. So if it exists or relates to an existing non-compliance, you can hit yes, and we'll see a list of all of our current issued non-compliances against this work record. So we only have the one, so we'll go ahead and choose that one to link to.
I might as well say while you're doing this, Owen, that Street Manager is set up to only offer one PAA per works. So that's based on a discussion with the governance group and a reading of an old code of practice, and that's all detailed in the Street Manager talking points doc that you can find on our GitHub site. So that is Street Manager working as intended, and the idea is that you shouldn't really want 3 months notice as a highway authority when carrying out remedial works, because you're trying to get remedial works carried out on your network and improve your network. So I think it kind of circumnavigates that process is the idea. But like I say, that's all detailed on the talking points document, which is a few years old now, but still covers off this issue pretty well, I think. Just thought I'd fill the time while you were raising that permit, Owen.
Yep, no worries. So we've got to the review screen for the apply for permit flow, and you'll see this new section at the bottom, just confirming that we are relating this permit to a non-compliance and the reference number of the non-compliance that we're linking it to. So I'll go ahead and apply for that. And if I go back to the works record, go back to the non-compliance, you'll see that the application we just raised has now been linked to the non-compliance and shows up here. So you can see it's planned and in the submitted status. But once that work has been completed, as a planner, I can come in and select works completed, ready for reinspection, let the HA know that our works are complete, and they can go out and assess the defect again. So I'll submit that. You can see it comes up on the promoter response, works are completed, ready for reinspection. So I'll flick back to the HA officer account again. So I'm logged in as a HA again, back on the works record, and I'm going to raise another inspection. This time it'll be a non-compliance follow-up type, and we'll choose the follow-up completion inspection category. We'll say that it's passed. And again, we see this familiar screen. This time we're linking the inspection to the non-compliance, and it's the same rules. Any issued non-compliances against the work will show up here for you to choose from. Fill in the rest of these details and submit this. And now I'll go back to the works record and onto the non-compliance. And we'll see that the non-compliance now shows as resolved after we've logged that non-compliance follow-up completion as a pass. And that automatically triggers the non-compliance to be marked as resolved.
Beautiful, beautiful. Can we humour me by going to the non-compliance list page as well? So let's just have a little look at that. So you can see we've got a few here in this test environment, and the one that we were just working on there, you can indeed see that it's got that status of resolved, as Owen talked about. And these last 4 columns that you can see there were actually added at the behest of the SMEs and the governance group following feedback. So you wouldn't have seen that a couple of months ago, but you can now see most recent inspection outcome is passed. And then treat me as well, Owen, by just going to show what the filters are there. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? More filter options. And you can see, oh my goodness, look at this wealth of filters. Anything that you could possibly filter on, just prove they work, Owen, by going to resolved as the status, and on the top line of the filters there, and applying that, and we should be left with certainly the one that we just worked on for one thing, and yeah, some others there as well. But I mean, you can filter away to your heart's content there, guys, and export and all that good stuff. So I think, Owen, is there anything else that you want to show us in terms of this happy path?
We can show the same kind of flow, but the promoter suggesting a joint site meeting first,
Well,
once they get
well,
onto the non-compliance.
I tell you what, it feels to me like this has been a long enough video already. So I think we'll break this into two chunks and we'll call this first one, I don't know, we'll work that out in the edit, guys, but we'll call it like the promoter driven one, or sorry, the HA driven video, and then the second one can be the promoter video, and we can do a slightly less kind of happy path as well and cover off some more functionality. But I think in terms of what we've done here so far, Owen, we've cracked it. And I hope you enjoyed this whole story video, guys.